First, let's talk about what the veil is. We've kind of talked about how it's a symbolic version of yourself, but in a different reality. I, myself, have not run into other people in this reality yet. I know of other people who have. I would love to know more people that are into it so that I could possibly do that with them, because I feel that is where human consciousness is lacking. I feel like if we could connect on a more deep level, like a very, very deep, vulnerable, intimate level, non-physical, completely interdimensionally, let's say that, I feel like we wouldn't need to use things like the internet or phones. I think that we could connect to each other and share knowledge openly and freely and spontaneously. I think that that's what this world needs. We'd be able to feel each other's pain. I feel like empathy would be a widespread, just unspoken, understood thing that not anybody could deny. It's just like auras. I know most people can't see them. Most people don't understand them. But I know that they're real because I see them, and I know of other people that see them, but there just hasn't been enough of us that have gotten together and created like a dictionary of how they work and what they look like and what they do and don't do. But you can't hide them from somebody who can. If somebody can see your aura, they can read you like a book. And you can't avoid that unless you have training to emanate a different version of yourself, which is incredibly backwards and highly contradictory to the human psyche. And that's probably just like very high intelligence military training right there. I would never worry about that. I would love to teach people how to do this. It's essentially going inward into yourself. It takes some training and time. Some people can access it the first time they try, and some people have to try for years to do it. I was kind of in training for like a year leading up to when I did do it. I didn't realize that's what I was going to be doing when I did actually do it, because I was at a workshop when it happened. But I had read all of the reading material that the person at the workshop gave, so I did have a pretty good idea of how it all worked when I went into it. I just didn't realize that's what we were going to be doing when we were there. So, I know there's a lot of workshops out there, a lot of teachers out there that teach similar teachings, but there's also a lot of different stuff. And I don't want to say that any one single way is the best way to do anything, because I am wholly a believer in pieces of knowledge being in everything. I don't think that any one thing is 100% right or 100% wrong, because it all comes down to the different perceptions of each different person that presents it and is presented to. You know, it's very much circumstantial. But it's essentially, I feel like you can do it with any of your energy centers, but the heart is the predominant one because it is the frequency that can communicate with all of the other frequencies in a balanced manner without causing imbalances, because it's like listening to music. Some notes work better with other notes. Some notes sound better than other notes. And for other combinations, it depends on who's listening to them. So when you come in contact with a person that you just don't vibe with, it has very much to do with those frequencies and whether or not they are meshing. Some of them don't mesh as well as others. That's why your best friend might like this person a whole lot, but you do not, because there's just something in you that just doesn't resonate with them, and vice versa. You could change it, but it takes time and effort. So, the going beyond the veil is also like going into a new space. Like, it's the heart space, the sacred heart space. There are two spaces that I'm familiar with. I feel like they each have a different depth and each have a different purpose. There's the sacred space, and the tiny space is how I've been taught. For me, I was a sacred space way more than the tiny space, but the tiny space has very special times to be used. They're just very different. They feel very different. And as you use them, you'll become more familiar with them and why you use them at what times and what reasons. But you are incredibly safe in both. And I say incredibly as in like 100% safe. You can't be harmed in either of these spaces. But the more time you spend there, the more you learn about yourself. Because once you turn the light on in, say, the sacred space, you are given an interpretation of yourself that you're familiar with, but you haven't seen before. So it's different for every person. You can change it at any time, and the more time you spend there, it grows and evolves and gives you more information, and you begin to develop this relationship with yourself. For a while I called it developing a relationship with life, because then you could communicate with life, and the things that you do there translate into the things that happen to you here, and vice versa. It's an interactive story, and it is incredibly beautiful and fun, and it blows your mind. If you were into synchronicities and miracles and just overall control and games, it's a life-changing experience to have this place to go to do things and play and communicate and trade, because it opens up a whole meaning to life. Life is no longer just something that you do every day, something that you experience, you're along for the ride. No, this is, you get to pick which direction you go. You get to pick the scenery. It's amazing. I recommend anybody try it, but it's not for people who are just like, not for the faint of heart. You know what I mean? If you're flaky, you gotta work on that first. Okay, it's just not gonna fall in your lap. You're gonna learn hard lessons along the way. These are things that you have to learn about yourself, and they aren't, some of it's gonna be really amazing, really positive, but a lot of it's gonna be painful. Not so much painful and like you're gonna chop your arm off. I mean, maybe that's your thing, but you are going to gain a perception of yourself in the way that you interact with the world around you that you've never had before. And it's going to be interactive. I can't explain that enough. How, like, when things start happening to you that you understand that nobody else would. Things that you know weren't just a coincidence. Yeah, there's more and more of that happens the more you become familiar with the experience. Excuse me. So, that is what? The who, I would say anybody can do it. It's just, it takes time and practice. When? I would say any time is the right time, but you do have to be in the right frame of mind, frame of heart, frame of soul, frame of body in order to get there. You could do it, I think you know if you're ready or not, deep down inside. You can ask yourself, am I ready for this? And you'll get an instantaneous answer. Where? You can do it anywhere, but I recommend it being an isolated, quiet place so that you're not distracted. Because I try to do it, you want to be completely heart-centered. There's a process that you want to go through in order to do this correctly. And I'll talk about that in the next video.